Remember the morning rush when you'd pack lunches, scan email, and still manage a quick laugh with your partner over burnt toast? Then one day that chair across the table sat empty, and the silence felt loud enough to rattle the windows. 3 months after my husband's heart simply stopped, I woke to that silence and realized I'd been holding my breath for weeks. Grief was no longer a wave crashing. It was fog muffling every landmark of routine. Maybe you know someone standing in that fog right now, a parent, an older friend, or perhaps you see its outline on the horizon and wonder how anyone ever steps through. This conversation matters long before our own 70s because purpose is a muscle we build across decades, and it's the very thing that can lift us when life hands us its heaviest weight. Tonight I'll share what coaxed me from merely existing at 75 to feeling genuinely eager for sunrise again. We'll unpack small, repeatable actions that fit between work deadlines, school runs, and the endless group chats lighting up your phone. Habits you can bank now so they're there when you or someone you love needs a lifeline. If that sounds useful, tap subscribe and ring the bell so these weekly sparks of hope find you without hunting. Your likes and shares scatter breadcrumbs for others stumbling in the dark, and every comment you leave is a hand on someone's shoulder. Thank you for making this community real. Let's start with the first sliver of light that pierced that fog, giving grief a schedule. It sounds odd, I know, but setting a daily 15-minute appointment with my sorrow kept it from elbowing into every task. Each afternoon at 2, I sat by the garden window, held his old fountain pen, and simply felt whatever surfaced. When the timer chimed, I'd stand, water the fern, and return to the day's rhythm. It wasn't about bottling emotion. It was about teaching my brain that pain had a container, and life still had corridors beyond it. Even now you could try. A micro version. Set your phone for 3 minutes, close your eyes, name one nagging worry, breathe through it, then open your eyes and stretch your arms overhead. The tiny ritual trains resilience the way a plank strengthens your core. Quietly. Consistently. The second beam arrived through service. My neighbor's grandson needed help with college essays, and when I read his draft, my mind sparked in ways it hadn't since retirement. Guiding him forced me to dredge up stories, jokes, vocabulary my husband loved and share them forward. Service doesn't require grand gestures. It can be as simple as texting one encouraging sentence to a colleague juggling elder care, or slipping a funny photo into the family group chat. Each act reminds the brain it still has currency, still influences the world. If your schedule feels jam-packed, pair service with existing errands. Call an older relative while driving to the store. Hold the door an extra beat and meet someone's eyes. Purpose often hides in these slim margins we normally rush past. Feel how these two threads, structured space for sorrow and intentional outreach, begin weaving a rope sturdy enough to grab when the ground shifts. Let that sense of quiet strength settle for a moment as we continue this journey together. One morning, halfway through mentoring that teenager, I caught my reflection in the dark laptop screen. Shoulders slumped, hair in a knot I'd slept on, eyes dulled by weeks of fluorescent light. Grief had parked my body in neutral even, while my mind started inching forward and the mismatch felt like wearing someone else's shoes. So I gave my muscles a mission as modest as my spirit. 5 minutes of motion before coffee. No heroic yoga flow, just a gentle sway, arms circling, like slow windmills, knees bending as if greeting an invisible dance partner. I paired it with a favorite oldies song so the rhythm decided when to stop, not the clock. Within days, my posture loosened, and the act of choosing a track each dawn nudged me toward playlists we'd loved, reawakening memories without the sting. If your mornings already fire off like a confetti cannon, emails, alarms, kids missing socks, borrow my trick at another hinge in your day, waiting for the kettle, elevator, or traffic light. Let the red signal become your cue to roll shoulders back, inhale to the collarbones, exhale down the spine. Micro movements slip through the busiest schedules and whisper to the brain, I'm still here, steering this ship. Movement primed. A second shift. Rekindling curiosity. At 75, I hadn't touched watercolor paint since a high school crush drew birds in the margins of my notebook. One rainy Thursday, I wandered into a community center art class, hands trembling so hard the brush looked like a tuning fork. But between sloppy strokes and accidental splatters, I felt time bend. There was no silence, only color. Curiosity works, like jumper cables. Attach them to any dormant interest and they jolt purpose awake. You don't need a 3-hour block or a pricey workshop. Cue a 10-minute podcast on astronomy while commuting. Draft a haiku on the Notes app during your lunch break. Try a new spice in tonight's stir-fry. Each fresh neuron pathway you spark now becomes mental scaffolding for resilience later. The way vines hug a trellis long after the gardener steps aside. As body and mind began humming again, evenings still ached with emptiness. That's when I started the 3 Tiny Wins notebook. Each night I scribbled successes smaller than a postage stamp, answered Susan's email, walked to the mailbox, laughed at the dog's sloppy kiss. The list took 90 seconds yet shifted my gaze from what was gone to what was quietly flourishing. If pen and paper feel old school, use your phone's voice memo. Speak the wins while brushing teeth. Play them back when traffic jams or work glitches threaten your calm. Those recorded sparks accumulate like fireflies in a jar, lighting paths through darker stretches. Notice how motion, curiosity, and stitched-together victories begin to fill the spaces grief once monopolized. Leave that gentle glow burning on the edge of your awareness as our conversation carries on. Connection was the next thread I needed to weave back into my days, but the usual advice to join a club felt like ordering a banquet when I could barely swallow soup. So I started with 1 coffee appointment, no group chatter, just a single familiar face and a mug that stayed warm longer than our stories. Tuesday at 10 became non-negotiable on the calendar, the way parent-teacher meetings once were. My friend Linda and I sat by the bakery window and practiced the gentle art of asking better questions. Instead of the safe, "How are you?" we tried, "What surprised you this week?" That tiny tweak opened doors to belly laughs about her, grandkids' science project, and tears about my late-night dread of empty sheets. Purpose often tiptoes in disguised as being genuinely interested in someone else's answer. If your schedule already groans under Zoom calls and project deadlines, steal 5 minutes now, scroll to a contact you've neglected, text a question that invites a real answer, then let the phone rest face down. The ping back will land like a breadcrumb when you need reminding that community still wants you at the table. Those coffees sparked an idea I call the 1-hour ripple. I volunteer precisely 60 minutes a week. Nothing heroic. Tutoring English online for a refugee who wants to nail a job interview. The promise of just 1 hour keeps overwhelm at bay, yet the ripple runs wide. My student's new phrase becomes her confidence boost. Her confidence fuels her family dinner. Their laughter spills into a neighborhood I'll never visit. And suddenly, a quiet Tuesday has international reach. You could claim your own ripple during lunch breaks, edit 1 page of a local charity's newsletter, record a bedtime story for nieces in another city, or drive a neighbor to their lab appointment while your audiobook plays. The key is a fixed bite-sized window so service expands your life rather than consuming it. Still, evenings sometimes slipped cold fingers around my heart, especially when the house settled and shadows pooled where my husband's recliner used to creak. That's when I crafted a soundtrack ritual. Every night at 8:30 I light a small candle, play 1 song from our wedding playlist, then follow it with a brand new track I've never heard. The familiar melody lets me honor the love that shaped me. The unknown song nudges me toward chapters yet unwritten. Try it right now if you can. Pull up a tune that meant something in your 20s. Close your eyes for the first 30 seconds. Notice where the memory lives in your body. Then hit shuffle and feel curiosity eclipse. Nostalgia. This 2-song bridge takes 6 minutes, yet it trains the brain to pair remembrance with forward momentum. A crucial skill when life's pages feel stuck on yesterday. Coffee questions, 1-hour ripples, candlelit playlists. They may seem small, but together they stitch a safety net strong enough to catch those inevitable late-night swells of missing someone. Let that net unfurl quietly beneath you, a gentle assurance that whatever tomorrow asks, you will not answer it alone. Purpose truly took root the morning I said yes to a plan farther out than next Tuesday. My grandson asked if I could attend his high school graduation, still 3 years away, and the promise startled me like a dawn alarm. I heard myself, Reply, absolutely, I'll be in the front row. Then felt a flicker of excitement I hadn't named in months. Long-range commitment recalibrated my compass. Suddenly, decisions about sleep, diet, and finances revolved around showing up for that future handshake. You don't need a grand milestone. Circle a date 6 months ahead for a hiking weekend, a class reunion, or finishing the novel you abandoned at chapter 5. Write it in ink. Then reverse engineer one tiny step each week, no bigger than 10 minutes that nudges you closer. Momentum loves countdowns. To support that new timeline, I built what I call a morning summit. 3 questions scribbled on a sticky note by the coffee maker. What matters most today? How will I show up for it? Who can help or benefit? While the mug fills, I answer aloud, sometimes in a whisper, sometimes with full-on pep talk energy. The practice filters out noise before email floods in, and it anchors me to values instead of moods. Try it now. Glance at the closest object on your desk. Let it remind you of a priority. The stapler might prompt, stitch relationships. The plant, grow steadily. Speak a simple intention out loud and feel how the posture of your day resets like shoulders sliding back into alignment. I also created a permission slip board, an actual cork square on the hallway wall where I pin cards that read things like, rest counts as progress and grief waves are normal. Surf, don't fight. Each time I pass, I tap one card the way athletes smack a sign before taking the field. In the bustle of midlife, we hand out permissions to everyone else, kids, colleagues, aging parents, yet forget our own. A visible note reminds the nervous system that self-compassion isn't laziness. It's maintenance, the oil change that keeps the engine of purpose humming. If wall space is scarce, set a phone alarm labeled with a kind phrase. Let it chime when you usually hit the 3 p.m. slump so grace arrives right on schedule. Finance, often the unspoken weight after a partner's death, needed its own pocket of courage. I scheduled a 30-minute meeting with a fee-only advisor, armed with nothing but a messy folder and a lot of dread. By minute 10, we'd mapped a simple spending plan and earmarked a tiny joy fund for monthly indulgences, fresh flowers, an art supply splurge, train fare to visit an old friend. Claiming discretionary joy money, however small, told my subconscious that life after loss isn't just survival math. It's an investment portfolio for wonder. If professional help feels out of reach, start with a silent audit. Open your banking app, identify one automatic payment you no longer need, maybe a forgotten subscription, and redirect that sum to a labeled envelope marked Spark. Even $5 can buy a museum ticket or the fancy olive oil that turns dinner into an event. As seasons rolled on, I noticed the fog no longer swallowed mornings. It lingered in thin wisps I could wave away with a breath. The garden window, where I once sat for timed sorrow, now hosts seedlings nudging toward light, and on good days I swear they lean in, curious about the next story life will write. If anything in our chat sparked a seed in you, maybe the 3-minute feeling, appointment, the 1-hour ripple, or the permission slip, water it tonight. Tell me about it below so this community can cheer you on. And if someone you love is wandering through their own fog, share this video. Your small act could be the porch light they need. Tap like if the ideas felt doable, subscribe for more conversations that fit real-life calendars, and ring the bell so we keep meeting in these pockets of time you carve out for yourself. Midlife isn't a countdown, it's the launch pad for all the discoveries still ahead. Loss may redraw the map, but purpose is the compass you carry inside, steady, resilient, always orienting you toward a horizon worth walking toward. Until our next cup of virtual coffee, keep that compass close and step forward. One quiet, courageous yes at a time.